I didn't make a video at the time I did this session because I thought it was too controversial, but considering how these sessions have been going, I figured like, okay, I could post this now. So I did this session December 13th, and it was for a cat named Baxter, and he was in spirit. So he said, his mom wanted me to ask, did you meet your mom by chance, or were you sent to her on purpose? He said, there is no thing as by chance. We always come for a reason, always. We are always sent or choose to come for a reason. I am a traveler with her, so I am with her in many lives. I just happen to be a cat in this one. My mom and I chose each other a long time ago, and we cycle in and out of each other's lives. So my spirit, the spirit of my true self, will be with her always. It's quite confusing. She knows me in this life as Baxter the cat, but she also knows me, her spirit knows me as many other things as well. So when she dies, she will see Baxter the cat, but she will also be aware of every other life we have been in. So once she sees me and becomes acclimated, I will then be my true self, which is everything I have ever been to her. You don't stay only the thing you were in your previous life when you are in spirit. You are all the things you've ever been. And I said, I kind of don't like that. And he said, what don't you like about it? And I said, well, I would like to think that when I'm in spirit, I'll be with my dogs again, and I'll see them as my dogs, and they'll be there as my dogs in spirit. He said they will be, but they'll also be everything you've ever known them as. You will see them as all things, not just one thing. I know this is confusing to you. I know this may not be what you pictured. I can only tell you that it will make sense. You are under limitations now with your understanding. My words just sound confusing, unsettling, and uncertain to you. Only with the rebirth of the spirit will you understand what I truly mean, but I don't want to leave you feeling upset or worried. When you pass, you will see all your past loved ones, human and animal, in the form you knew them as. It is a transition, an acclimation. They will be there as you knew them. Once you've adjusted to being in spirit again, you will see them as all the things they've ever been, and it will all make sense. It won't make sense now. It can't. Not to you, not now, not while you are in form, but in spirit, all is understood. There are no unanswered questions. Another question his mom wanted me to ask him was, your mom wants to know if she did the right thing for you when you were sick. So we're about to go down the rabbit hole. He said, it is so hard, so challenging for you when we become ill. It is gut-wrenching, fear and pain and sadness all knotted together. Does she think she did the right thing? That is what is important. I was always meant to become ill. It was no surprise to me when it happened. I wasn't surprised and I wasn't scared either. It is just something that was happening and did happen. There really was no making the wrong decision because everything is premeditated beforehand. And I said, what does that mean? Again, people are always like, she's so dumb. I get it, but I'm asking more questions. I'm asking questions as a regular person who would want to know, more about what he means. So I said, well, what does that mean? And he said the decisions she made were the decisions she was supposed to make. It had already been planned out prior. And I said, prior to what? He said, entering the body, free will is an illusion. And I said, that doesn't make sense. We have free will. We have the free will to make whatever decisions we want to make. He said, you have the illusion of free will. Do you not remember none of this is real? It's all a game? Well, a playground, because that had been referenced, that this life here is a playground. I said, yes, but I could choose to get up right now and move to my couch or choose to stay where I am. That is free will. He said, whether you move to a different seating location has no bearing over the things you will and won't experience in your life. It depends on what the choice is and how it will affect what you have come to experience. Do you wish to keep talking about this? And I said, yes, actually, because I don't understand. What about the butterfly effect? So again, please don't hate on me because I'm not understanding. This was back in December. I'm asking questions. So he said, the butterfly effect is just a means to explain how things could have been different when in fact they couldn't be. Now here's the controversial part that I didn't want to share about this. He said, I'm going to use 9/11 as an example because you keep thinking about it. Because in my head during this conversation, I kept thinking about 9/11. I kept just thinking about that in regards to what he was saying. He said, the people who chose to go in late, call in sick, make a stop along the way, those were premeditated choices, decisions that were already made and supposed to happen. The people were never supposed to die that day and thus made decisions which ultimately prevented it from happening, but they were supposed to make those decisions and there wasn't an alternative. Of course, one could say, if I hadn't stopped at the pharmacy, I wouldn't have been late, and because I was late, I survived. But in truth, a stop at the pharmacy was already planned. It wasn't a choice. It was a plan that was following through. I said, so you're saying free will is an illusion? And he said, yes. And I said, I'm really struggling with this one. And your mom, I mean, who even knows what she'll be thinking at this point in the conversation? And I heard from his mom. She was like all positive stuff, happy for me to share. He said, I'm trying to explain something to you and ultimately her as well, because she is worried she didn't make the right decision, and I'm trying to explain that it was the only decision to be made. Humans think if only a lot when it comes to the consequences of circumstances. There is no if only, there's only what is and what was meant to be. I said, are you saying our whole lives are planned and we have no control over anything? He said, what you see as control is in fact an illusion. This whole thing is an illusion. It's not real. Remember the Matrix. That is what is real, not this. It feels real because it is supposed to be. You are supposed to feel like you are in control and that this is real. Life here, it was designed to feel this way. I said, so life, are you saying Earth was a design for everyone and everything that lives on it? Now, I've covered this in other videos later. I'm just like backtracking about sharing this video. He said, that's exactly what I'm saying. It is a fictional place. It's not real. And I said, well, it feels pretty fucking real, Baxter. Again, this was like months ago. He said, that is because it is supposed to. You have a choice whether you get up and move to another seating location in your home, but that choice will not affect whether or not you die from cancer or get hit by a bus. Those choices, those events are pre-planned before you arrive. I said, but why would anyone choose to come into life knowing that they will get hit by a bus? He said, because it doesn't matter. It's not real. It's like a video game you're living in, like virtual reality. Death is not traumatic. It is not an end. It feels real. It feels very real because you have emotions and they guide you. But from my standpoint, in spirit, death and how you die is no big deal at all. That is why animals do not care if they die in tragic ways. It doesn't mean anything. It just is. I said, I still don't understand why someone would choose to come into a life where they experience nothing but pain and hardship and suffering. Now, this was covered in a recent video I posted. Again, this session was done a while ago. He said, there is not a soul in existence who has not experienced those things in a life many times, and much worse than what it is now. There's always a reason. There's always a reason, and I just cannot explain to you what that reason is. You just know once your life is complete, there is a reason for the experience of tragedies and pain and hardships. I said, I talked to a cat, though, that said the world is the way it is because of the choices we've made, but you are saying we don't have free will, so I don't understand. He said, here's where it gets more complicated. The world is in the shape it is in because of the choices you have made, but choices are an illusion. It's not real, but it is meant to feel like it is. Everyone is making the choices they were destined to make, what they are supposed to make, and thus, here's the outcome, the result of those choices. But he's drinking. He said, do you understand? Because this is very deep, heavy channel we're opening, and humans, they're not capable of truly receiving this information and comprehending it. I am only telling you because you have opened yourself to be a channel between the living and spirit world. Not everyone, actually very few people, will be able to understand, comprehend, or accept what I'm telling you, especially as it is coming from a cat. My mom made the right decision, and that was the only decision that was meant to be made. That is the answer to that question, and honestly, all I feel that needs to be said at this time. So again, this was back in December that I did this session, so I understood like less at this time. Obviously, other videos that I posted that I've done more recently, it's sort of been explained more, and there's been more topic about it. This was just a previous one that I didn't want to post about, and I didn't want to post about it because of the 9/11 stuff. I thought that was really controversial, but I felt like, okay, I can probably share it now because I've gone deep with you guys with what the animals have told me. So I wanted to share that. And also, if you're like, how is a cat seen the Matrix? Because that was in another video. I have a video and it says, how is a cat seen the Matrix? So watch that video if you're confused about that. And I will never DM you for a session. And with that, I'm going to end this.